Hey, what's up, guys? This is Team Hard Life Captain Alberto Zertuche, and we just got to the beach. We're starting to set up our first rack of fishing rods, and we're gonna practice for the tournament. However, it is we're about 6 hours behind schedule. Had a bit of trouble breaking away from the shop. Ended up buying 2 new freezers and moving baits over to ensure that none got lost this weekend. And so that delayed us. So what we're doing now, me and Roger are rigging up the rods, and we even got good buddies of ours, David Bassan, Mr. Jefe is there, Jeffrey Ibarra, you can see him off to the left. We got Edward as well. Kyle's right there, him and his wife, they also joined us, so that way they can practice as well. And we're basically getting them some practice for Sharkathon, which is this weekend, guys. It is still on. The government did not shut down, which meant it wasn't going to shut down the park, which means the tournament can continue. So it's a good thing, but we'll see how this goes. We got to rig up all the baits that we're planning on getting out there, and really like I said, it's been a while since I've been on the beach. So on our beach, the last beach we went to was in Galveston. We went up there for another tournament. So yeah, it's fun getting back out there.
Gotta bite. I think I got a lot of stress on my mind. It's a nice day to go. Yeah, I gotta line. I'ma call up the whole team.
Alright, guys, so here's our bait. We're going to be using Kauno stingrays out here, but not really in the mood for using a whole bunch of big baits right now. And a lot of the guys are catching some pretty good sharks up close with smaller baits. So I'm going to go and rig this one up and teach you guys how I rig baits. So for me, once I'm ready to kayak baits, then I'll start cutting my bait up. I don't like to pre-cut it and let it sit there and sit there and sit there, because what it's doing is basically bleeding out before it actually has to bleed out in the water. I'm trying to put as much scent in the water as possible, so that way when I do drop the bait, it's creating a scent trail deeper into the water. So since I'm also planning to run 2 at a time, is the only reason that I'm cutting this baits all the way through. And you can see a nice chunk of bloody meat right there. And you know, I was telling them exactly how to cut the next bait up. Like I said, I'm gonna go and jump on the kayak right now, just because right now it is late in the day. We're about 6 hours behind schedule, and we don't have much daylight left over, so I'm gonna go and knock this out. Alright, so what I'm also doing is I'm telling Kyle which way I'm going to actually go, because if you look at the surf, the current is running north. So from the right side of the screen to the left. So I told him the safest spot for him to be is to stay on my left, because I'm going to be cutting hard into the current. And I know he's only got a hand paddle kayak, so I'll be moving a lot faster than he'll be able to keep up, so I can pretty much take over and go as far as I want to the right. What I'm looking to do is drop baits right now anywhere from 600 to 800 yards out, and this will be a test run, because like I said, I can see the current moving. I just don't know how bad it is running until I actually get on the kayak and run baits. So here we go. It was a good test. They're running 2 at one time, 280s. I'll be using the Old Town Predator PDL kayak, and what I do is, you can see the first surf weight is on there, and what I'll do is I'll put the second bait on the left side, and I'll also pin it up to where I can deploy the bait once I'm out there by just grabbing the surf weight up there. I leave the baits in there, go ahead and deploy my rudder just so it's kind of already down, and that actually helps too, because when you're starting to drag the lines out, and if they are crossed across the back end of the kayak, it does make it a little difficult to raise it and lower it when you're trying to get through the surf. So by me doing this is actually a helpful pre-step to what's going to come later. Well, I am about to engage the pedal drive system. You got to remember, when you're engaging this, you got to be deep enough so that way the propeller does not strike the bottom. It's not like the Hobie where you can do it in a few inches, which is fine by me, because for me it's easier for me to ensure that, you know, I'm in deep enough water that if I do flip, I'm not going to be smashed into the floor, which is good, because I have done that before, be in shallow water and flip right there on a different kind of kayak. Definitely not this one. But as you can tell, the current is rocking from the left side of this, right side of the screen to your left. And so even with me, I'm pretty much headed directly into the wind, into the waves, cutting to the right. I have to do this to ensure that when I do drop baits finally, that they are not going to drift in front of our camp and get caught up with the current and waves and stuff like that. So it didn't look like the waves were pretty big, but you know, as you can tell, we got some 2 to maybe 4 footers there, and as I got further out, they definitely did get a lot bigger and stuff like that. So I'm gonna keep it rolling. All right, well, I'm making my way back into shore, and there I am. Yes, sir. It was pretty sporty out there, but I was able to do it, and I was able to get back in. One of the good things about using the paddle, if you can catch it just right, you can actually surf in the waves and keep you from flipping over, you know. Guaranteed, I don't know how many times I flip, I'd rather stay on the kayak coming in kind of deal. But also too, now it's still time to put in more work on the rack, because even though the baits are dropped, you got to ensure that they are properly set to where the line follows where I dropped them at. And communication between the guys who are handling the rods and the kayaker is very important. And also too, you know, ensuring that your line is tight once it is dropped to your weight will ensure that you don't have a lot of slack in your line, which can catch a lot of debris. As you can see right there, I took up a lot of slack, but it is coming loose because there was still a lot of bow in the line. But this is something else that we also have to pay attention to, is how well the weight will stick in the environment that it is at. Again, too, this is our first bait drop, so we don't know if the weights will stick in the current it is, or are they going to drift because it's too bad. But this is a learning experience, guys. You really can't tell until you get out there. And I've even been out there in worse conditions than this, but there was no current. It was crazy. We were dropping pyramids out there with big waves, and they weren't moving, they weren't drifting. But right now I'm using my 20 ounce and 24 ounce surf weights with 1/8 gauge wire to keep our baits in place. And we are using chunks of Kano Stingray, and we're going to go ahead and see how it goes from here. I'm also going to get ready to take out the next two baits, which means I'm going to cut even further to the right of these two, just because we are having one of our baits that isn't settling properly. So to ensure that it doesn't drift into what I'm taking out there now, I'm going to go ahead and cut even further right and keep rocking and rolling. This is where the Old Town Predator kayak will really help me put baits out at night and stuff like that. But I am going to be taking a headlight with me so we can ensure that they can kind of see me and I can see what's going on too, because the sun is going down, so it's going to get pretty sporty out there for sure.